It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Friday, Gary, hello. How are you?
I'm doing very good. We got lots to talk about today, but we have to start out. I mean, there's just no way we can start out the show without playing this.
All right.
Hulkamania, two mega powers meeting here tonight. Hulk Hogan, what is happening?
Well, you know, me and Gene, we really don't know what we're dealing with here, man. And I'm just kind of a little worried about locking up here.
It's all right.
Because we just might blow the whole planet up, you know. Everybody knows that Hulkamania is the strongest force in this universe. But when I hit that ring and I saw what the madness was all about, I realized there was a whole nother universe out there, a whole nother frontier, and the power of the madness and the mania just blew my 24-inch guns out, man.
And I wish you could see the video because it's like his veins are popping out in his neck and his head, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
you know, imagine getting home from that job. How was work? Oh, it's fine. It was okay. I mean,
by the way, that goes back. That audio I played goes back pretty far when there was still the debate in this country whether wrestling was real or fake.
Was there ever really a debate? It's, you know, I'm not sure a debate is, but it's, you know.
Yeah, there was. I remember.
The people doing it would tell you it's real. Yes.
Well, exactly right. Nobody bought it.
None of the fans were debating.
I actually they were.
Yeah.
I remember doing music radio at the time, and that coming up at a topic, and people were calling. I did a music show, a morning show, and they were calling, screaming at me that it wasn't fake.
Well,
and so it was. Yeah, there were people out there that thought it was.
Yeah, and then there are people that saw 10-foot green people in their backyard in California, but. You know,
look, there are people. Eric, don't you understand that there are people that believe that men can be women if a man says so?
That's true. That's true. Maybe wrestling was real. It's, you know, what I loved about it is that critical thinkers knew, of course, and even at 5 years old, I guess I was a critical thinker. It was like, oh man, this is so fake, but highly entertaining. You know, the thing about wrestling is that you price that in, the audience prices it in. And they want to see, the moments. Back in the day, it was, I heard one of them say, I forget who it was, that they knew that, like, where the soft tissue was so they could actually draw real blood and not create like a lasting injury or scar. Although there were many lasting injuries and scars along the way. But they said, we knew, like around the eye, boxers know this, right? Wherever that soft tissue is, we know we can, get that dramatic moment and not have to use a ketchup packet. And I thought to myself, as a kid watching all of those, I don't know how many, Saturdays watching back when TBS was WTCG out of Georgia. Ric Flair, all of them. But then eventually Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Rock, all those guys. I don't watch it on the regular, but as a kid, it was great. It was really great. It's just, you show up, if you go to one of those live things, you're going to have fun. You're going to walk out of there going, that was worth it. That was worth my time. That was worth the ticket. And I think that's the whole idea about Hulk Hogan. He's at the Republican National Convention last summer, and he rips his shirt off, and everybody just goes crazy. Because it was, again, just trying to create that fun. Remember the liberal activist media going crazy on that. all he has is Hulk Hogan. It's like, yeah, you guys are about to find out what he actually has. But it was that fun moment. And I think Trump knows that. You know, you do something, you put somebody up there who, I mean, he was literally and figuratively larger than life to a lot of people. Hulk Hogan was one of those guys, you know. He did like Ozzy, he did the reality TV show based around his family. In fact, I don't know if it's the same production company, but it was right around that same time.
Well, I go back a few more since I'm 10 years older. I mean, I go back to I remember even some black and white. Mm-hmm. I remember the fabulous Moolah. Mm-hmm. She was the longest reigning champion in pro wrestling history.
Oh, yeah.
I read the other day.
Yeah.
And then my brother and I mean, we would watch when we were kids, Dominic DiNucci and the Brown Bomber.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and so I go way back, but what I was thinking about with, after Hulk Hogan yesterday is, again, by the time it got into the 80s and got big, and then the pay-per-view started at that, in the late 80s, or in the 80s. And
right.
I just, at that point, I mean, you move on to other things, but my nephew, I'll never forget my nephew, who's, I think, 39 now. All I can remember is, Uncle Gary, Hulka Hogan, Uncle Gary, Hulka Hogan. He called him Hulka. Hulka Hogan, Hulka Hogan, Hulka Hogan. And he was so big. I mean, you didn't have to be a wrestling fan to know of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
He was everywhere.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, because it came up in Shuffle yesterday, and the whole thing, just taking what happened earlier this week, the whole Colbert thing, and so I guess I've been looking at stuff, so the algorithm made it so I came up with the Johnny Carson interview from, I'm going to guess it's the late 80s. I didn't know exactly when it was, but he was on 60 Minutes. And they were hitting him hard. Why don't you cover serious issues? Mm-hmm. Even back then, there was this point, you've got to take a stand on the issues. And he said, no, I don't. He said, we're entertainment.
Yeah.
He goes, we're entertainment. Why does anybody care what I think? I'm there to entertain. People come to me to entertain. Basically, that's the niche that I have. I entertain. I'm not going out of that. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let any outside influence put me in somewhere that's a very dangerous place professionally for me to go. I'm going to do what I've always done and what we do in the entertainment business. Now, I'm paraphrasing here a lot, but that was basically his message. And I started thinking about, just because we've talked in the last couple of weeks, number one, about Colbert, where late night talk shows, TV talk shows used to be, which was pure entertainment.
Right.
I mean, you think about even Letterman. It was just pure entertainment. There were no politics at all
you
involved
clean the
in it.
slate before bedtime. That's basically was the idea.
Right.
Entertainment was.
Yeah, you just, I remember, what's his name? Ed O'Neill saying it about Married with Children. He said he could get thousands of emails saying, I come home from a tough day of work and I just put you on and it's just great.
Yeah.
There's nothing to think about. There's no,
Right.
Same thing with Seinfeld. There was no message. It was get the laugh, get the laugh, get the laugh. That was it. And you look at entertainment, and sports is entertainment too. And I've only been to one wrestling match in my life, and it was because our old boss, Bob Schomper, made me go. And I went down to the AAC to here in Dallas.
I've never been to one in a huge venue like that. All the ones I went to were like in a school gym or smaller venue.
I was really impressed with just the choreography and the staging of it was just I was really, really impressed by that. I've never been to one since, but I went, whoa, and everybody was what? Purely entertained. Everybody walked out. Yeah. Everybody walked out happy. And when we talk about entertainment, and you can throw sports into that too, because that's part of people's entertainment dollars. You think about it when you go to a comedian. You go to see a comedian or a great band live or whatever. Everybody comes out of it as they've all shared that same experience, and they feel all together. You've all shared that experience. I mean, we've all walked out. of a concert. You look at somebody and go, wasn't that great? Yeah, it really, really was. Yeah. You know, I wish you would have done that song. Yeah, do you like this song? You automatically, it opens the door to communicate with other people, whether it's wrestling, whether it's sports, whether it's movies, whatever. And I was telling you at the top of the hour, I said, for God's sakes, you know, liberalism just wants to kill fun.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't want to, they don't want to have any fun whatsoever.
Right.
You just can't have fun. You just can't be entertained. You just can't. And with sports, I've always talked about the importance of sports. Sports is wonderful for, you know, number one, as entertainment, but number two, for bringing people together, the sense of community that exists when you've got a major sports team. Now, maybe not when they're losing all the time, and so it may not exist right now for the Cowboys, and you know, for you or for me for the Buffalo Sabres. But there are other sports though that when you watch it, you say, "Wow, that's just, you know, what a great moment." And when you're there, there's a camaraderie that exists with everybody, the tailgating that goes on, and so you think about it: entertainment, fun. Life is hard enough. You know, you and I talk about it all the time. We don't anymore. We used to get criticized. You guys are having too much fun. These are serious issues. And we have simply said, well, we follow what's in the Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we pursue happiness every single day. We'll talk about the issues, and we'll be passionate about the issues, but we're not letting anybody take away our pursuit of happiness. Not just our pursuit, but when we reach it, we're going to be happy, and we do that every single show.
There are enough serious moments on this show that we cover, and very serious topics that we cover, but they're not going to steal my joy.
No.
Nobody's going to steal my joy. That's just not going to happen. It's the thing I was watching Ed on Netflix, and Ed Sullivan the documentary, and it talked about it really focused on how no one was putting black entertainers on TV. And they were telling him, no one in the South is going to watch your show. And you're going to have, you know, people who object to this and blah, blah, blah. And he had some. But ultimately, it became massive. And he's the one who booked all the guests on every show, 23 years. And his idea was, well, these are entertainers who happen to be black, and they are highly entertaining,
and they're selling. You know, on the radio, they were.
You know, Barry Gordy talks about how, you know, at first he couldn't put pictures of like the Isley Brothers on the album. Couldn't put their picture. He put a picture of like a white couple sitting on the beach. And he says, I didn't want them to judge Barry Gordy. I didn't want them to judge a book by its cover. You know, so it was in that era. It's watching that documentary. It was like, it's hard to believe that people actually thought that way. That would actually be have to be a concern for programmers or the founder of Motown or, you know, any of that. But for all of them, it was, look, we know this is great entertainment, and people are, and sure enough, white kids were showing up to the concerts.
Oh, yeah.
They were buying the albums. Yeah. They were watching Ed Sullivan. White families were watching Ed Sullivan, and black families were watching Ed Sullivan. And it came down to what? We're going to put on an entertainment show every Sunday night.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, that's the idiocy of racism.
Exactly.
Well, they'll listen to the music, but we don't think that they want to see the people that are actually singing the music because their skin color might be different than you. That's the idiocy of racism right there.
No, I mean, that's it. If they found out, but you know, Buddy Holly talked about it. He showed up at a gig, and there weren't a lot of pictures. It's not like they had the internet and it was his picture was plastered everywhere. And they go to load in, and it was like, who are you? And, well, we're the band. I said, well, you can't be the band because the band is black.
The Apollo Theater.
Yeah, and he's like, well, no, he goes, it's me, and I'm Buddy Holly. That's, you know, and, you know, but at the end of it, it was what? It was the audience deciding on all counts. This is great entertainment. And you think about that in pop culture. And then all of a sudden, it has to be about something. It has to be about something. It has to be, there must be some reason we're going to greenlight this project here in Hollywood. Tell me the cause behind it. Tell me the message you're sending. Well, not everything has to have a message. Entertainment should be the number one goal. And, I think professional wrestling in America is kind of the epitome of that. It's like, yeah, they finally came out and go, yeah, okay, yeah, it is fake. But there's a great deal that goes into putting on a show like that. It's like, okay, great.
Oh, it's physical.
Yeah.
It's extremely, it may, there's an argument to be said that it's one of the toughest contact sports out there.
Right. Oh,
and
man, I can't imagine.
But you think of Hulk Hogan and all you think of is pure entertainment.
Exactly.
Just pure entertainment.
Right.
I'm watching the clip and I'm dying laughing over here.
Right.
I mean, it's hilarious. It's great stuff.
Right.
And I just, that's when you look at, the Colberts and the Kimmels, they just don't get it.
No.
They just don't get entertainment, and they don't wish to get entertainment.
No, they don't.
They want to be, we've talked about, I'm just remember Jon Stewart did it. Remember the whole thing with Crossfire.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
He enters the arena of ideas, and then he wants to back off and say, well, no, I'm an entertainer. Sorry, there's no wall.
Nope.
As soon as you open your mouth and you get in the arena of ideas, sorry.
You jumped in.
There is no, I have a special dispensation. I can't be criticized because I call myself a comedian.
Right.
Doesn't work that way, John.
Nope.
866-98 Red Eye.
Hey there, Hope Savara here with Mother Trucker Yoga, and this is your health tip of the day. Healthy driver, healthy diesel, powered by House. Neck strain can really be a pain, especially after long hours behind the wheel. Did you know neck pain affects nearly 70% of drivers at some point in their career? So let's loosen things up. Sit tall and tip your head to your right shoulder. Now pull your left shoulder down gently and hold for 10 seconds. Switch sides, left ear to left shoulder, right shoulder pulls down and hold for 10. Now roll your shoulders 5 big circles forward and 5 back. Open your mouth wide and stretch your jaw. Hold for 10. Close and repeat that 2 more times. Finally, take a deep breath in through your nose, pause, and exhale through your mouth. There you go. Small, simple changes lead to big results so that you can feel good again. Visit mothertruckeryoga.com and houseproducts.com for more info.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's whatever to you. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Flugelhorn, trumpet, and piano player Chuck Mangione also dying. It was announced he died, but he actually died on the 22nd.
Yeah, it was a couple days ago, and he died in Rochester. He was born there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Rochester, New York. He's had the whole list of albums. It's just a long list of albums. I think the last one he put out was in 2000, but he was on King of the Hill. He had a recurring character on King of the Hill. He was on a episode of Magnum P.I. back in the day, so he had a few TV experiences. They listed under his acting career, but I think it's just, having fun basically with being himself.
He had a real decent career even before Feel So Good,
mm-hmm.
But it shows that having the right kind of hit sometimes is more important than having 10 top 10 hits.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose because we record the entire show.
That's right.
And after the show's over, we stream it.
Yeah.
So if you're listening now and you say, geez, I got to go to sleep, but I just can't listen. I got to get some sleep.
We'll
That's
be
fine.
here for you. We'll be here for you.
When you wake up tomorrow morning, you can just catch what you missed on our Red Eye Radio app.
We're going to be right here for you anytime.
My favorite comment on Hulk Hogan yesterday came when Tom Homan was asked. Tom Homan was asked what was his favorite Hulk Hogan memory. I'm like, really?
Really?
I mean, with that, some reporter asked that to Tom Homan. It wasn't an immigration question. Here it is. This is funny.
I love Hulk Hogan. I had an Italian Mastiff dog, 200 pounds. His name, Hulk Homan.
Hulk Homan.
That is such a Tom Homan answer.
I know.
I love that.
You can see that he got a kick. He got a pretty good kick out of that.
Yeah.
Looking at everything that was going on yesterday, you and I, over the last couple of weeks, looking at everything with the Russia collusion hoax. Last week, we had spent 90 minutes when it came out about the story of Durham having an annex to his report that he couldn't talk about, the Durham report, which showed the beginning of Russia collusion, the Russia collusion hoax,
Right.
Which was an intercept, which means they intercepted something, some type of communication. That's what that means when we have an intercept. That means you got something from the Hillary campaign. Now, how intelligence services that aren't supposed to be monitoring domestic communications got a hold of an intercept from Hillary Clinton. Boy, there's so many questions here that the media is not covering any of this.
I mean, you brought up a question that I had in my mind, and I thought, did that intercept come from the Hillary campaign contacting some kind of foreign organization or person?
Exactly. Otherwise, how would the intelligence agencies know?
Right.
If it's in the campaign, the FBI might know. But the intelligence agencies wouldn't have any idea unless
Iggy Danchenko is a foreign national. He's a Russian national. So
Christopher Steele, former British, former British spy. So, so how much did they know in that? And when that story came out, we haven't heard much about it. Everything has not yet been declassified on that at all.
Right.
But that was what they said, we believe, is the ignition switch that happened in July of 2016 when the intelligence agencies told Obama, Hillary's trying to set up Trump. So we looked at that and said, okay, what would the possible, if they're looking at conspiracy, or because the word racketeering was used in what they might be looking for, we said, okay, that's RICO. Yeah. And we laid out, okay, what path might they be on to get not a conviction, because we just don't know enough for that, but to get an indictment from a grand jury.
Right.
And we laid that all out as to the conspiracy. When you had Tulsa Gabbard, okay, I'm just kidding, it's Tulsi. I just Jonathan Turley had to apologize. And I've got an audio cut from Jonathan Turley coming up. When she went through just what happened in December and January, we criticized that the other day, saying, look, if you're going to present it to the American people, do not give the Democrats. There's no way on anything with the Russia collusion hoax that Republicans should ever be on the defensive of, or shouldn't be able to slam dunk every single Democrat talking point. But you just can't bring a segment of it and say this happens and we're referring it for criminal referral. At least when they came out with talked about the July 2016, when that came out, you said, okay, what could the possible conspiracy be, and how could they use racketeering?
Mm-hmm.
And you and I went through, the civil violation, and then the Kevin Kleinsmith and the criminal conviction against him, the FBI agent, and then the fine from the Federal Elections Commission for Hillary trying to hide the money that was used to create the false dossier. And by the way, I did wonder whether the whole thing of was it Klain testifying yesterday and saying Hillary wasn't well is a way to give her. I'm sorry, this is my conspiratorial.
I thought the same
part
thing, though.
of me. Okay, is this a way? Are they trying now to say, well, Hillary doesn't have the capability to stand trial?
Right. Are they moving toward that direction?
Are they now?
Or she wasn't well at the time or
Right.
something like that. I mean, Hunter, hey, he was on Ambien during the debate
Right.
about Joe Biden.
And she was on tranquilizers,
Right.
and everything was,
Right.
and so
They were all on drugs. Oh, that explains it. Thanks. We're done here.
But when you and I looked at it and said, you need to throw out what the specific crime is, or give a heads up as to the path that you're going. Because when you said criminal referral for Obama, you just had your base that was energized saying,
Yeah.
all right, what do you got?
Yeah.
And you didn't deliver.
Right.
Now, you might deliver, but you didn't deliver. And so politically, we said the only thing we could see right now is, possible perjury charges. And we mentioned, Brennan, for example, which is exactly what Jonathan Turley did yesterday. I want to play this audio here from Turley on Fox News as he talked about it.
And it does appear that a couple of these figures may have committed perjury. I think the most vulnerable may be Brennan, who's like a 30-point buck now out in the open. I mean, this stuff goes directly to information that he gave to Congress. It seems to be in contradiction. And so there are real questions here. I mean, people talk about, well, you can't charge Obama. That's very likely the case. He's probably protected. But these individuals, whether it's Comey or Brennan, are not protected from perjury charges if the statute of limitations has not run. They are more likely to be called again to repeat prior testimony.
So sort of what we were saying yesterday, we figured, because that's what we're looking for. Because the concern would be, don't Epstein this.
Yeah. Because when you have the DNI at the podium, by the way, that's not a regular thing. You're doing that for a reason. You're doing it to get everybody's attention. And when you do that, in my opinion, you need to, based on recent history and the whole Epstein thing, you need to deliver something. Here's where we believe the crime was broken or the law was broken. Here's where we believe a crime was committed. And we're going to refer it to the DOJ and let them go from there.
And the reason, Turley didn't explain why it would be tough to get Obama. We did yesterday, and we said because even if he was manipulating or his goal was to get another intelligence, what do they call it? Intelligence
assessment.
Assessment.
Mm-hmm.
There's another word in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
But the intelligence assessment, even if he didn't like what he saw and said, get me another one, all of that is, whether he's doing wrong or not, all of that is in his job description.
Right.
Of the executive branch.
Right.
And so that would be the challenge there. And yeah, there's been the talk that, well, because the Supreme Court ruled on Trump, it applies to Obama. Now, not if it was a bribe, because a bribe does not. If for example, we said, how would you the treason charge? How could you make a treason charge? Because that was out there, and we said, don't do that because there isn't the evidence of treason based on what treason is, and we tend to use that word not in a legal way, but in a political way or an emotional way.
Right.
But treason, as we laid out yesterday, and we did from the Constitution, what a treason charge is. Well, if he gave aid and comfort to the enemy, for example, if Obama called what would, I think, get it to a treasonous level, even though there's no precedent, for example, for a president on this, it would be the president calling Putin and say, we want to set up Trump.
Right. Yeah.
At that point, you're dealing with an adversary. Adversary or enemy. It doesn't mean you're at war with them.
Mm-hmm.
It means under the Constitution an adversary. If he did something like that, at that point, you might be able to get it to the level of treason, even though there's no precedent for a president here. So who knows where that would go legally. But when I was thinking, okay, what's an analogy that you can make that case for treason, that would be it. You can do a lot of wrong stuff in the executive branch and not end up in jail where regular people could end up in jail.
Right. Right. And again, this, you can't have especially going forward with 26 right here, just months away now, the House and Senate, you need to keep. And you've got to build that confidence overall. I think the president has a great deal of confidence by the American people. I think right now it's fine. But your base was gut punched by the Epstein thing. Does that change anything? We said, look, we don't know that this is a major needle mover, but a history of that behavior or a pattern of that kind of behavior, over-promising on big things. The whole thing here is that the Russian hoax is not small, and this was directly about them going after Trump in a massive, massive, massive grand conspiracy and series of events. And the truth has to come out. So if you don't promise anything, and even if only the truth lands and nobody lands in jail, then you get a win.
Yeah, you want to be able to market this over and over again, where there is absolutely, you win the argument slam dunk.
Yeah,
that's how you do it. You make it. It may not apply exactly the proportion on it, but you pound everything that's an 80-20 issue.
Mm-hmm.
And on Russia, the Russia collusion hoax right now, with the information that is coming out, you cannot deny the evidence that exists because it's in their own writing, in their own documents, in their own emails.
Right.
We already knew it. This is everything that came out this week was years old for us. It's something that we've talked about for the longest time.
This is more about confirmation, really.
Yeah, this is
a number of us.
Confirmation and additional evidence in their own words.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so you pound it because you want this to be in the history books. The same with the autopen. You want an official record of everything that happened here.
Yep.
The autopen is absolutely a constitutional crisis.
Yes. Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Latest on the whole Jeffrey Epstein situation. Ghislaine Maxwell yesterday talking with the U.S. Deputy Attorney General. And they said she was very open about everything. So this is going to get interesting there. And also, a weird day yesterday. We had looked at it yesterday, and it was a article in Reason Magazine that was looking at the Japanese trade deal, even though a ton of it's not out. And the automobile manufacturers' lobby is just furious at it, saying, and then I saw that the UAW now is going, what are you doing? You're making Japanese import cars great again. What in the world's going on? Why are you doing this? And we explained it yesterday. We'll explain it again. And it's because there's only a 15% tariff on those vehicles coming in, but cars that are made in North America, where American manufactured cars use a ton of automobile parts from Canada and Mexico. And so it's going to, the cost, their argument is the cost of American cars assembled in America, because you can't build all the parts in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They say are going to be more expensive than Japanese imports with very little American-made parts inside of them.
Right. That's going to be a problem.
Yep.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, he is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. We made it to a Friday. Woohoo! Which means, of course, we're just backlogged with tons of audio cuts that are great audio cuts, though. I don't want to make it seem like, okay, I've got to play the audio cuts, because there is no rule or law that we have to.
No.
We just do it.
We don't get a fine or anything like that.
And the reason I say is I simply push the button. That's
right, yeah.
So since I push the button, it's not like
you're doing the clicking over there.
Right. It's not like it's some great thing, like a great responsibility that I told Eric, no, sorry, you can't hit the button.
I don't trust you with the clicks.
Right. You can't hit the button. It's my button.
No clicking for you.
I'm not in charge of much on this show, but I'm in charge of that damn button.
I don't even have a mouse anymore because of you. I just have to look at whatever's on the screen at the time.
Well, it is time for our Senator John Kennedy audio cut of the day.
All right.
And it seems like the whole DEI thing blew up yesterday.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
All the stuff going on. I mean, I think it's because of what was the Columbia, the $200 million.
Yeah.
The settlement that was made, and the left just going crazy, on it. But here's Senator Kennedy talking about it.
We still have institutions, even after the Supreme Court's opinion, we still have institutions in America, some in government, certainly some in the private sector. I'm thinking of some of our universities who insist on implementing quotas. And that's what you're going after, as I understand it.
I'm aggressively seeking to end those quotas. They're illegal and un-American.
Okay. And that's really what we're talking about, is quotas. And the American people don't support quotas. They just don't. I think most Americans don't think about race as much as people in Washington, D.C. do. The American people they understand that souls don't have a color. They believe that to a bear, all of us taste the same, like chicken.
Why does he got to bring up Timothy Treadwell?
Oh, man. Grizzly man.
Yeah. Google it. Yeah.
Gary, are you a racist? No. Because if I were a cannibal, we'd all taste like chicken.
That's right.
What?
I love it.
Oh, my gosh. That's
To a
just
bear,
hilarious.
we all taste the same, like chicken. I love it.
That's just so funny. And then they were getting into it on CNN yesterday with Scott Jennings here, and get into the same, start all over again. Well, you can't define woke, and what does DEI even mean? This is like the Mark Cuban argument again. Mark Cuban. I don't know what's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, who could possibly be against that? That was that week that Mark Cuban said, I'm going to play really stupid today, as if I don't know anything of what's going on, and I'll simply say, these words sound fine.
Yeah.
But here it is. And it gets to be, you know why I'm playing this one? I'm only playing this one because I have the button, and I did make an executive decision because it gets to the point of something that you always said. At times, it seems like we're all just 1,000 kids screaming in a gymnasium.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm playing this.
Exactly.
Because of what you said a long, long time ago. Here it is.
It's about making sure that there is white supremacy in this country. And if we're honest, we will say that. It is about making sure we will make sure that people who DEI is really all these code words. You used to use woke. I asked you to define what woke meant. You couldn't really define it for me. Tell me what it means again.
Woke ideology is taking extreme views of American culture and trying to tear down America from the inside out and go outside of our cultural norms and invade every corporation, university, and other institutions.
What is DEI?
That's incorrect.
Tell me that's incorrect. But what is DEI? Tell me again.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and trying to guarantee outcomes instead of guarantee opportunity.
Trump's cabinet looks like DEI.
I was speaking. If I could just finish.
I do want us to not get off.
Well, it's the left that came up with the DEI.
Right.
It's not code word. It's what it's called.
Right. The right didn't come up with it.
Right.
But they're trying to deflect from what the problem is.
Yeah.
And the problem comes from the concept of critical race theory, which is the concept which is behind all DEI. That whites are culturally racist to the point where it might as well be genetic. And you can't change that in white people because all white people are racist. And so the only way that you can do it is by DEI, which is the assumption that all institutions, government, industry, society, whatever, must run on the belief and the narrative that all whites are culturally racist to the point of it almost being, like I said, genetic, and therefore all institutions must take that narrative into consideration when doing anything.
Right. By the way, woke is also a term created by the left.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm not going to tell you what they mean. You tell me what they mean. I'm going to tell you what's wrong with the policies and that mentality.
Yes.
I'll tell you what's wrong all day, every day.
Yeah, you see the deflection coming out. They want to put him on. They want to put Scott Jennings on the defensive, and that's what you go. Whoa, whoa, whoa! This isn't the argument. It's one of the reasons why. And I've done them in the past. It's one of the reasons I'll never do anything taped anymore. There was an incident that I had a long time ago with what's his name? With Nightline.
Mm-hmm.
And they interviewed me it was a local issue, but they interviewed me for 2.5 hours and took like 3 seconds of me and took it completely out of context. And I said, I'm done with that. But I even have a problem now. I would have a problem doing these kind of shows that Scott Jennings has to do because you're almost forced to answer the questions, the loaded questions. You can't set the table. They set the table. You saw it right there. Putting him on the defensive. Well, no, that's not what woke means. Well, we don't argue the labels.
Right.
You and I don't argue the labels. We very rarely say the word woke. when we say DEI, it's because that's the official policy and that's the official name that the left has given it. So what's the problem with DEI? It is, again, coming directly that it's based on critical race theory, which is the belief that must be accepted by all in society, in every institution, that whites are systemically racist.
Right.
That's it. That's wrong. It goes.
These aren't code words.
Yeah.
They've been repeated over and over again because so much is wrong with them. And, you know, this argument, and that's, again, something else I say. You start on the wrong premise, and what follows may seem logical, but it's still based on that false premise. And she launched it from two levels of false premise here, both on woke and DEI. Your side created woke and DEI. You tell me what it means.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's wrong with it.
They create the wrong premise by the questions that they ask.
Every time.
And that's why it's like, nah, you know, I figured a long time ago, nope. I want to be able to control the question and the answer.
Yep. Dan Rather's people interviewed me for about 45 minutes one time. And they used exactly none of it. Because the first question, I knew exactly where they were going. They wanted me to trash the trucking industry. I'm not a trucker. And, you know, my first answer was, well, I don't drive truck for a living. There are plenty of people, in fact, we were in a building filled with truckers, who could tell you their experience, but my experience is this, and they ended up using nothing because I didn't give them an out. I wasn't going to sit here and trash something that actually is a vital part of the economy. And on top of that, I'm sure there are, you know, good and bad, but she never got to this reporter working for Dan Rather. Never. It was based on, again, this premise. This was the angle. We're going to try it every turn. Try it every turn. Try it every turn. If you ask me about specific incidents, if I know about those incidents and maybe was a part of that or was exposed to that, I could tell you. But it wasn't about that. See, that's the thing, is that they want to start on they want to corner, basically frame the answer to where you can go nowhere. And I have zero interest in engaging in any of that. It's, you know, the left, it really has become karate. Because that's what I would have said in that, you know, situation right there, is that these aren't code words. You guys made them up. I'll tell you what's wrong with them.
Well, the thing is, when you have 5 or 6 people and they all talk over each other, you cannot get your message across. And I realized that a long time ago. And at first I first said, and it was after the Nightline thing, and this goes back to the mid-90s maybe, where, and I had done panel discussion shows when I was in Chicago and Rockford, Illinois. And they were okay. They were good. There was a good, you know, everybody, you know, wanted to, and I probably was a panel of 4 most of the time, and everybody got to talk. And I don't believe, and I did it for probably a year, I don't remember anything like just there where everybody's talking over each other. But then when I did, and so I was okay initially with that, you know, things like that. But then when it got to, you know, Nightline, where they record you and then edit you. After that, I said, never doing that again. You can offer me $1 million. I won't do that again. Ever. Never going to let somebody edit me to the point of what I'm actually communicating. They take a 3 or 4 second clip out of it to make it seem that what I believe is 180 degrees different in order to fit the narrative that they're trying to sell the audience. I saw
if
that
60 minutes and you're on their side, then they'll edit it to make you sound much better, Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, and that's why that's why I just won't do it again. This is all I have to do.
Yeah.
And you and I
have turned down a number of things based on scheduling, but other invites. And if you want to know what I think, we do an all-night radio show. I'm not sure if people know about it, but
yeah, but we have an all-day podcast.
We can tell you where to find it.
We have an all-day podcast,
which was my next point. And if you need to, you can download the podcast if you want something recorded. You've got it right there on record. But you know, the idea is to again start on that false premise and be dismissive. You heard it in her tone. You know, she starts with, you know, all of these code words. Whoa. These aren't code words. This is where it started years ago with the left. I remember people on the left wearing the T-shirt that said woke, basically, which is to say, I am woke.
Right.
You guys created the terms. These aren't code words at all. You know, and I'll tell you what's wrong with them. You have to tell me what they mean. Because is it truly about diversity, equity, and inclusion? And by the way, what is equity? Where I came from and the experience that I have is that equity is built with sweat, time. You put the work in. You don't get it simply because you exist. But if you're Stephen Colbert, you do. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not equity. He was making $20 million a year, and his staffers not $20 million a year. But because he exists, you know, and he's on our side, we'll keep that going. I mean, this is how something like that happens, is that that's not necessarily DEI, but it's the same thought. Because you exist, we're going to give you this. Because you are this, we're going to give you this. How about earning something?
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Uncompensated detention at docks frustrates drivers of all stripes. If you're an owner-operator, you have at least some control over the matter. Make the subject a standard part of your rate and/or contract negotiations on the front end. You can use your own numbers to calculate an hourly rate to compensate for lost income opportunity, as well as fixed costs, which don't stop when the truck stops. Those two elements of a fair detention rate were deemed appropriate by most of Overdrive's audience almost a decade ago. We've used income, fixed costs, and miles average of our owner-operator business services from ATBS's clients to compute an average $64 an hour detention rate then. And 10 years later, the figure is $83 an hour. Use your own numbers to calculate your rate. A simple conversation with any broker or shipper or your carrier if you're leased about what you're putting in the rate might yield results you don't expect. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So we're going back to the same old thing again. I mean, every time this happens, and I think it was like a $220 million settlement.
Yeah.
That was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's all 222.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And also the deal with Paramount said no DEI.
Right.
And so the left is now going nuts.
Right.
Oh, and you saw that the U.S. Olympic Committee, no males playing female sports.
Right.
And by the way, people go, well, Trump got nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with Title IX that Congress passed. And it was about biological males and biological females.
Right.
And it was the left. It was Obama that changed it. It was Obama that actually said not only is sex a social construct, because you can't say, well, gender is different than sex. Not anymore.
Right.
If gender was different than sex, then nobody on the left would be promoting men playing against women. You'd simply say gender is different than sex, because gender is what you think you are, and sex is what you really are.
Right, exactly.
And so they're bringing this all up over again. They're just not going to change on any of this. They just won't.
Nope.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It is Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning, as always. The Epstein thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not going away. We said it wasn't going away.
No.
We had said that the administration has nobody to blame but themselves for the whole binder incident. That's what set everything off.
Yeah.
Because you gave the optimism that something's going to be there. Now, what's going on now? You had in the Senate, Wayne Mullen yesterday come up and say, well, we want a resolution. There's nothing we can do. We can't tell judges what to do.
Yeah.
When it comes to grand jury testimonies, but we can put out a resolution saying release everything. You should still release everything. We can't force them to do it, but we're going to do it. And the Democrats objected.
Mm-hmm.
To that. You had that one assistant AG with Maxwell yesterday interviewing her, and it's really, really interesting because it's something that really doesn't happen much, and I want to get to this here. We're going to get this John, former Deputy Assistant AG John Yoo, talking about the Deputy AG interviewing Maxwell yesterday and saying she was extremely open on everything, and she's giving them information, and so you see that going on, and so you obviously it's the only thing that Republicans can do is you say, we want complete transparency on everything.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for. Whether you're going to get it, who knows? But if you're interviewing Maxwell, you're going to get a ton of information. And then what do? They're talking about, okay, let's bring, the talk of bringing Clinton to testify before the House. Because you've got to get around this. You just can't forget about it. When Trump said just leave it alone, that was never going to work.
No.
Ever.
No.
But here's John Yoo yesterday on Fox.
Highly unusual for someone in Todd Blanche's position to go down there and speak to a convict for sexual trafficking.
It's extraordinary. In fact, I can't think of another time in the history of the country where something like this has happened. Right? Todd Blanche is the right-hand man to the Attorney General, the top federal law enforcement officer of the entire United States. I worked for a deputy attorney general. I clerked for another judge who had been deputy attorney general. They never said ever that when they were in those jobs, they would go down and meet with any suspect, any witness, or anybody who's actually been convicted and serving time. These people are way up at the top of our justice system, and they're reaching all the way down to intervene on a matter which would usually just be handled by assistant U.S. attorney and FBI agents. I think that's a sign of how seriously now the Trump administration is taking this, how much I think they're worried that people are losing faith in the integrity of the Justice Department leadership, that they would take someone of such high standing and have them personally participate in interviewing someone like that.
Now, the thing is, what he's saying is it's not, they're losing the integrity of the Department of Justice. It's not what the Democrats are talking about or even independents.
Right.
It's a portion of the Republican support for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, or the Department of Justice.
Right.
And I include the White House because it's the White House that gave them all the binders.
Yep.
That started the whole thing. And what it's turned into is, again, this on CNN, Scott Jennings again with Anna Navarro. Here we go.
Why not?
Democrats are alleging that he is somehow part of Epstein's wrongdoing. It's been happening all day long. This is the whole point of this fiasco, is to try to create a narrative and what he calls correctly a hoax, that he is somehow part of it. It's exactly what they did about Russia, and they're doing it on Epstein.
If he knew that Epstein was preying on underage girls, is that wrongdoing?
I don't know what he knew or not. All I know is they were friends.
He told
and
us that he knew that Epstein liked women on the younger side, girls on the younger
side. And that comment and what you just said are two different things. So
okay,
if you're alleging
my
criminality, go ahead. Say it directly.
No,
say it so we can all hear it.
I am asking you a question that you are pivoting on. The question I am asking you is, if Donald Trump knew that Epstein was having sex and preying on underage girls, is that wrongdoing?
Well, I think if anyone would have known that, but I don't know that he knew that because
I don't know that either.
He disowned it. But you're raising it. If I knew that you ran over someone out on the street, would that be criminal wrongdoing? You're raising it because you don't know if it's true, but you're saying it out loud because you're trying to create.
No, I'm saying it out loud because I think that's what a lot.
No, I mean, of course, Scott Jennings is right here. She's creating something that she knows nothing about.
Right.
And it is a false premise.
Look, we know how far they'll go. They still, when we talk about Charlottesville, they still lie about that.
Mm-hmm.
All these years later, where everyone knows, where you've got, the actor, Michael Rappaport. By the way, he's just going nuts about Mandami in New York City. He's cursing up a storm.
Yes, he is.
And said, you're not going to drive me out of here.
Right.
Well, he might.
There's a shortage of F words in that part of the country right now because of him. He's using all of them.
But that's what changed. He was a avowed liberal Democrat, and it's when he said, I did my own research on Charlottesville and found out that every Democrat was lying on it.
Right.
And it was so obvious, the lie, I said, what else are they lying about?
Right.
And so, you look at it here, and I guess the thing is, you're prepared for it. For the life of me, I don't know how the administration allowed the binder incident to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how, because remember that night, we're like, they got something. And by the time we came in that night, it was like, there's nothing in there. Why did you do that? We were criticizing it less than 24 hours later, saying, there's no new information.
Right.
Why were you waving it as if you had the smoking gun?
Yeah.
And the smoking gun would have been, you've got the people that were on the list that were likely liberal Democrats.
Right.
And it's been completely reversed because of that. And then coming out and saying, nope, sorry, nothing there. Well, then why were you waving the binders?
Yeah, nothing there, and quit talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. You weren't going to win that. You weren't going to succeed on that. So now,
and also calling it that it's just like the Russian hoax. This is the Democrats with a whole. Now we call it the Epstein hoax. You can't claim that. The Democrats would love for this to fall on Trump, no doubt. But that moment with the binders was created at the White House.
Yep.
So this is where we are.
And it's not that they're losing the Democrats, because it's like,
you never had the Democrats.
You never had the Democrats
right.
to begin with on this. It's that you're losing Republicans.
Right.
You have Republicans questioning now, what's going on here? Why aren't you going to release it?
Right.
And so, it also didn't help. Now again, interviewing Maxwell, You're like, okay, you're going right to the heart of the matter. If you can't get it from the judges, because the judges refused, as we saw the other day, to release the grand jury transcripts. So you go right to Maxwell at that point, and then you say, okay, let's start bringing people, forward. But, the House ended early, so they didn't have to do a vote on it. And that didn't look good. That wasn't that was not a good look at all when that happened. There should be nothing here, nothing that makes you look at anything that you were, after everything that you promoted. And that's the problem, though, with promoting something before you actually know what evidence you have and what evidence you can promote.
Right. And on the Maxwell thing, it's, all right, she has everything to gain if she wants to just talk openly and get you new information you don't already have, and there's something that would qualify or justify a quid pro quo in that case. But the question is, well, shouldn't there be justice if she's done something wrong? Does she get to walk to satisfy your political concerns of how it's going to affect your party?
Well, I've heard of no deal.
I haven't heard of anything, but that's what I'm asking the question. What would that deal look like? How much are you willing to give up?
Well, yeah, because now, because of what they did, because you lose it if you did give her a deal and take some years off, and she went after she went after Democrats. Well, then you're always going to have that over your head saying, well, she only did it in order to get time off.
Right.
She did what the Attorney General said.
Right.
Because once it starts,
which is something I said a few days ago. That's that's going to be the claim, whether it's even true or not.
Right. We're just talking the politics of it, how politics moves forward at that point.
Right.
But it's this was self-inflicted by the administration.
Well, and again, it doesn't matter where this goes. You're going to have a significant number of people here that won't be satisfied. It doesn't matter. Maxwell could say, okay, fine, I have the list. And here it is. Well, that's not the complete list. Somebody edited the list. She was asked to edit the list. She was forced to edit the list.
The list it's a list that the Mossad created. The whole Israeli spy thing. It's
right.
Like, you're just going to...
It'll never be complete.
Yeah. And the problem is, it doesn't matter whether it's complete for Democrat. Will it be complete for a significant portion of Republicans?
Well,
is what the potential problem could be.
It's flypaper here. You get your finger stuck to it, and then all of a sudden you use your other fingers to get that finger off. Then your other fingers are stuck to it, and now you use your other, and you're just going to be sitting there stuck to it. And it never had to happen. Ever.
No.
That wasn't and still isn't the needle mover. We'll work to no end to get justice. That's the only claim you had to make in terms of a campaign promise. And now you're here and you can't get out of it. It's just a weird web that you're stuck in. And it's not going away.
Yeah, I'm reading here from the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. How to end the Epstein follies. Could Bondi and Patel explain the material at a news conference and then take the heat? Are there grown-ups left in Washington? Politicians who've never seen the government files on Jeffrey Epstein are demanding full transparency, which is easy to say if you aren't responsible for the consequences of disseminating unproven accusations, victim details, hearsay, and who knows what else, even as law enforcement think that none of it supports further criminal investigation.
Right. Well, which is a great point, because with every piece of information that would come out, that would be released, you've launched a new conspiracy theory with everything that's there, whether there's any proof of criminal wrongdoing or not.
So the House is breaking early for the summer to avoid votes on forcing disclosure. The Attorney General and FBI Director now insists the files contain plenty of child porn that Epstein downloaded, but no client list or predicate for new charges. But Ms. Bondi and Mr. Patel previously fueled the idea that more would be coming that might unravel a grand conspiracy, and they also won their offices because of loyalty to Mr. Trump. Biden held the keys to the Epstein file cabinet for 4 years after the man killed himself in his jail cell in 2019. Maxwell was found guilty in 2021 and sentenced to 20 years in prison. As for the rest of the material, Mr. Biden's appointees apparently came to a similar conclusion that it was unactionable. Democrats indicted Mr. Trump 4 times in 2023, and if it was implicated in the Epstein files, wouldn't they have acted then?
Right.
That's a great point.
Yep.
866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Coming up following the top of the hour. Interesting, I was looking at an interview, Matt Taibbi with Megyn Kelly here, and he talks about the story last week that seemed to have disappeared a little bit about, the story because of what was in the Durham report, the annex that was classified, and Trump can declassify that, and that's apparently the ignition switch to show the conspiracy. Taibbi's talking about the fact that conspiracy that the Department of Justice is looking into, which is separate from what Tulsi Gabbard brought up, but could be a part of it, is a part of it.
Right.
And said they might have spied on Trump in 2024 is what Taibbi is saying. Wow. We'll have that coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. Reading this headline, astronomers Kristin Cabot resigns following the Coldplay concert cuddling scandal. Thought it was canoodling.
I was on the canoodling route. That was the intel that I had, that it was canoodling.
It only happened for a short time, but out there, and we had said immediately, it has to be heartbreaking if, you're the spouse of one of these two people and something like this happens. I don't know what goes on, inside their relationships, and probably I really don't want to know. But it was like, these things aren't funny, and this shows you the culture rot in the United States because of all the memes and everything else. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no.
No, it doesn't. All of everything was based on two people that knew they were doing wrong that got caught.
Mm-hmm. In a big way.
In a big way. That's what all the memes were about, that.
On camera at a Coldplay concert.
Right.
That's what you're going to be known for pretty much for life.
Yeah. It wasn't, the memes weren't based on, well, this is entertainment and it's justifiable because cheating is okay.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point is cheating wasn't okay.
No, they got caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they knew they got caught, and that was the humor that came out of that.
Well, even the lead singer, was it Chris Martin of Coldplay? said in that moment.
Yeah.
They're either really shy or they're cheating.
Yeah.
Having an affair, I think is how I phrased it.
So, it's, and honestly, for me, the company's got to do what the company's got to do. And whatever happens in their personal relationship will happen in their personal relationships, which really is none of my business. But
she's your HR director. HR.
I know, that was the thing that was
HR.
You know something that hit to me a couple of days later. I don't know why it was, and I went, "Oh my gosh, it's the HR director."
Yeah.
And I was thinking when they said she's still there, and I went, "She can't be there. You can't look." I mean, because first, a lot of
Which
people
would mean she would process him out when he's leaving.
Right.
She's looking at him saying, "I'm sorry, we've decided you have to go."
Well, when I first looked at it, I said, okay, for some reason, I didn't process the HR part of it. And I thought, well, no, he has to go because he's the CEO. And the person who has the power is the one who also always has to go in that. And he's got the power over her because he was the CEO.
I need to know what their
and then I went
harassment training course is like in that company. Because apparently neither one of them took it.
When everybody here, if you work for a major corporation, when you get the harassment training,
yeah,
will that be one of the questions?
Right.
It is not advisable to cheat on your wife and go to a Coldplay concert. Why? Coldplay music sucks.
Bob, the CEO of the company, tells you in the break room he has Coldplay concert tickets. He rubs your elbow as he's asking, "Would you like to go with me to see the Coldplay?"
The Coldplay.
The correct answer is A, sure, Bob. B, who's Coldplay? Or C, you know that's my elbow, right? I mean, did they not? Did they not take the course? What the hell?
I can still remember the one when we worked for Disney, and we had to do the harassment training, and I swear it was like,
didn't they use cartoons at first?
It was like,
wasn't it animation?
Yeah, well, some of it, yeah, it was
not Disney animation, not the Disney character, by the way, to be clear.
It was Mickey Mouse harassing Minnie.
Hey, Pluto, if I give you some extra money, would you go get some things for me? So tell me, why do they call you Goofy? It's
if Pluto and Goofy are together, should Pluto call Goofy the B word?
Right.
No, but there was actually an animation. It didn't show the woman, but it was like Jane comes in a low-cut dress.
Mm-hmm.
Should you comment on the size of her breasts?
Right.
It's like, yeah, absolutely. That's how I'll keep my job.
That was one of the answers. Of course. What?
Invite her out for drinks after work.
Robert comes into the office topless. Should you comment on his moobs? You know, it's 2025. She's your HR director, and you're the CEO.
Oh, it's
Oh, there's nothing wrong with this.
I'm glad you brought that up. What's the human resources harassment training like?
Well,
there?
he's the one that has to basically require everybody in the company to go through that.
Right.
At the very least, sign the company policy to say this is unacceptable. Then he comes around to her desk. Sometimes it's acceptable. What? Want to go see Coldplay?
Oh, man.
I have Coldplay tickets. I have Coldplay. What was your opening line, dude? I have Coldplay tickets. What was his next opening line? Hey, let me ask you, does this rag smell like chloroform to you?
Having a relationship at the workplace is tough enough to get around the harassment rules that exist today. Cheating on your husband or wife, and I'm so glad you said that because
You're the CEO, she's the HR director.
She's the HR director. Let's go someplace in public. Now, was it true? I read that in one of the statements he said it was a private act that basically one of his first things he wrote was our privacy was violated, as if there was an expectation of. I saw that on in social media. Somebody had posted that. And is that true? Because if that's true,
I don't know if that's true.
That's why he had to leave at that point. Once he said, because there is no expectation of privacy.
I did see a quote where he said, "This was clearly a mistake." I'm like, dude, you're calling your HR director a mistake. You're making it worse. She is so going to process you out tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Who was the band that? Who was the person that canceled because of climate change?
Steve Miller Band.
Oh, it was like the Steve Miller Band.
Yeah.
Now you could claim there's an expectation of privacy at a Steve Miller Band concert because they couldn't sell any tickets.
Nobody else is going to be there.
Right, but not Coldplay.
Exactly.
Oh man, I just.
Yeah, I don't. But it gets down to the arrogance, basically,
and no self-awareness at all. Right. Absolutely no self-awareness.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Completely no self-awareness.
Yeah, say it out loud.
Sorry, Joe, we can't keep you. You're too stupid if you did something like this.
Right.
We can't trust you on any judgment with our company anymore.
Right.
And again, there was nothing. I mean, there was no accusation from her of harassment. No, but there might be later on.
Well,
when he called what happened a mistake, because if he called what happened a mistake, he's calling her a mistake.
She's a mistake. I could see her making the point that, well, his power as CEO is what drew me in.
Years ago, when I was doing a team morning show, music radio, I dated my co-host. Now, I was her boss. This goes back years ago, years. I wouldn't suggest it. It's not good when you break up and still have to be on the radio together for another year.
Yeah.
We are best friends. Wow, almost a half century later. we're still best friends. But it's never again at work. Well, there's nobody I'm interested in here. I mean, look, Ron, no. Alan, no way.
Ron has a great personality.
Eric, no.
Yeah.
Eric, no. He's married.
Yeah. And my wife works in HR, so
Yeah, exactly.
We'd have many problems there.
But no, I've since that, and it was turned into a disaster, and I would never, ever. Now I will say this: she came after me. I know it's hard to believe that a woman actually came after me. I know that's tough to believe, but that actually happened.
Wow.
Yeah, she's the one that I would have never. It was not in my. Did I think she was attractive? Absolutely, but my whole mind. And it always has been that way in business. She's the only one that got me not to think the business portion of it. I just thought she fit, when I hired her, she fit the exact image that I wanted for somebody on the radio and to be a part of a team radio show.
Mm-hmm.
It was that simple. And she'll admit it. I always tell you're the one that initiated it. We still laugh about it because you can look back now and laugh. But there were some tense times that were completely and totally unprofessional, and that was on me. Why? Because I was the boss. Now everything smoothed over and nothing, It was all fine, but
right.
After that, I would never even. That's why getting to the point of some. And by the way, she was single, and so was I.
I know of one. Is there another couple? I know of one couple that's still married today that met at work, worked together. Neither of them were the boss, but I don't. I'm trying to think if there's another couple that I know of that met at work and then had a long-term relationship. I know of one.
I know of radio teams that are married or were dating.
Actually worked with radio teams that were husband and wife teams. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
One of the greatest that I worked with in News Talk Radio was Don and Roma.
Oh,
at
legendary.
At WLS.
Legends.
Yeah, they're just great.
Legends.
They had a big influence on me. They really did.
Yeah.
They really had a big influence on me about the chemistry of team radio. And they were just legendary and heartbroken when Don died a few years ago.
Yeah.
But they're just a great morning team at WLS.
Yep.
I remember getting to watch them work.
Mm.
Because a few times I was on before they were, and so I got to see them preparing and then sit in the other room and watch them work a little bit. And it was really, really fascinating.
That would be an interesting dynamic, having been married now for 3.5 decades, and the dynamic of your marriage and how would it work. Now, my wife and I do have partnerships. We've never worked together. To be clear, she doesn't work in the HR department here.
Otherwise, I'd be gone.
We truly do have, it truly is a partnership in life too, and we're best friends. And I think that's how, it would work if it's on the air, because, she's not in broadcasting, so it's impossible to know, but I am curious for those husband and wife teams. I worked with a husband and wife team early on, very early in my radio career. Crossan and Crossan. Jim and Joanne Crossan. Great people. They gave me a T-shirt because they were from New York, WNBC T-shirt. And it was, I still have it.
Say it correctly.
WNBC.
Very good.
And, and so I never actually asked them, and they're still working together. They do other things. They're still working together. But you have to have that on-air dynamic. Don and Roma, legend.
Yeah. They were just great.
Perfect.
But I like it where the new CEO said, well, we got a lot of publicity out of all this, so a lot of more people know who we are as a company now that this all happened at the Coldplay concert.
Yeah, okay.
You need to shut up.
Yeah, that's yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Run Our Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so here's the audio I wanted to play. This is Matt Taibbi talking with Megyn Kelly, and this is all on the Russia collusion hoax and more. And what we talked about last week, which was the whole Department of Justice looking into the conspiracy racketeering charges that could extend what happened in 2016 to 2024.
Anyway, you're reporting that DOJ is also focusing on conspiracy charges, looking at conduct from 16 through 2024, and also at evidence that members of Trump's campaign may have been spied on in 2024. So what, can you please elaborate on either of those points?
I can't say a whole lot, Megan, other than what I wrote. But I've heard a couple of different stories. I have one source who has a very concrete story about this, but I can't go forward with it yet. But what I can say is that there's a statute of limitations issue with some of these 2016 behaviors that would be solved if they could prove a continuing pattern of conduct. And there were various investigations that took place during the Biden era, some of which the public knows about, some of which they don't know about. And those, I think, would become tied to a conspiracy charge that would relate to these 2016 behaviors.
Whoa. That's Matt Taibbi. Remember him from the Twitter files.
Right.
He was part of the group that investigated it.
Right.
And we will, that's interesting because he's saying there's things we don't know about.
The show that never stops. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just telling you, it's a Friday, and just some of the headlines I read are just pretty laughable. Joe Rogan, this is from Fox News, Joe Rogan claims Hunter Biden could be president. Insists he's more intelligent than most people think. What else did Rogan say the other day that was almost nutbag-like? It was something last week where it's like, shut up, dude.
Yeah, he's not intelligent.
You mean Hunter Biden?
Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
And the comment wasn't so intelligent by Joe Rogan. I don't think he's stupid, but I don't agree with what he said. Sorry. Do they still smoke weed on the Joe Rogan show?
I don't know. Only if it's Delta 8 or Delta 9, which is still legal.
Right. No, it's sorry, not going to happen. And he's not an intelligent person. He's highly emotional. You can see it. He's not thoughtful at all, and you have to be thoughtful and put your emotions aside. And this, little rant that he's been on lately, again, shows you who Hunter Biden actually is. I don't believe he's intelligent. I don't believe he's capable of being the president. But then again, Kamala Harris got on the ticket. Now, hopefully she'll never win. But tens of millions of people voted for her. If the point is I could see people voting for Hunter Biden, oh, yeah. There are plenty of delusional people out there. Somebody bought his paintings.
Well, it would be interesting, the primary Mondami against Hunter Biden.
Exactly.
Crackhead or commie?
That's right.
Well, I'm just reading here, and again, this is from the Fox News story. In the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with guest comedian Joe DeRosa, Rogan was talking about how convincingly he thought Hunter Biden had spoken about the draw of crack cocaine. It's the greatest crack advertisement of all time, Rogan said. No, if crack wasn't terrible for you, this guy makes me want to try crack. I'm not going to. Don't do it. I'm not giving any advice, but I'm saying this guy, like legitimately, this might be the best advertisement for crack of all time.
Well,
I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Well, here's what I would say, and I didn't read the part where Hunter was describing the crack, because I tend not to gravitate towards, crack comments, crack descriptions, and whatnot. But I'll say this. An addict, if you've been addicted to something like that, they're going to describe it as something like, oh, wow. If you've never tried it, it sounds amazing, because that's how they think. That's how the addicted mind thinks. I think of Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton talked about the documentary, and it was him in this one part talking about, I didn't want to die. I never wanted to die because I loved drinking so much. I drank a lot, but I didn't want to die from drinking because I loved drinking so much. And I was like, wow, for someone, if you had never tried alcohol, he just made it sound wonderful. Addicts can do that. That's
right, but
part of the problem.
That I understand. It's Rogan's fascination that somehow ties what he said there to he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. He's talking, and one of the things he was talking about is why smoking things are so addictive, while smoking cigarettes are so addictive.
That's my
the
point.
Psychology behind it. He's not dumb. The
That's my
podcast
point.
host,
That's not
let me
intelligence.
finish here. The podcast host admitted that the son of the former president could himself one day be president. He could be president, no BS.
That's my whole point. That's not intelligence. Any addict is going to make it sound great. Why? Because their heart is fully in it. They're an addict. Their mind isn't working. It's not intelligence in that moment. Far from it.
That's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Like I said, Rogan lately, some of the comments. I know what it was. He's endorsed the guaranteed income thing. That he believes everybody should
basic
have
monthly income.
That everybody should have basic monthly income.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, we've talked about Rogan before. He's not a conservative.
No.
Never has been.
No.
We remember that, we remember with Rogan, you may like him, and I like him. I can listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't endorse a lot of the stuff that he says. His show can be interesting, but he endorsed Bernie Sanders, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close to being a conservative.
No.
He's more of a capitalist. He realized it was smarter to move here to Texas. You keep more of your money. That he understood. But the fact is, for God's sakes, he endorsed Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is like endorsing Mamdani.
Yeah.
Okay. Bernie is a pinko commie, where Mamdani is a commie. Even though he gets very close to being a commie.
Bernie.
Yeah. Who said it the other day? Oh, I got to find it. Just reminded me. Somebody said, he's not a socialist. Exactly what we said. He's not a socialist. He's a communist.
Right.
I saw it yesterday. Now I can't remember where I saw it. Just popped into my head now.
Well, it's, the Mamdani thing is, again, part of that, reason why I say, oh, yeah, I could see people voting for a Hunter Biden.
Oh, good God.
Look at all the people they're voting for right now.
There would be some people that would vote for Hitler.
That's light years from me believing he's intelligent because he described crack in a way that made it alluring.
I'm looking here. It's like, Fact check. Is Mondami a communist? No. And I see Al Jazeera. Comes from Al Jazeera.
Well, there you have it. The official record right there. We can put that away. But it's, people are going to, look, it could be Kamala in 28. She got tens of millions of votes. People will vote for a number of things and against a number of things. Right now, the left, the Democratic Party has a massive problem. But the one thing that they do actually have going for them is that they can still get people to vote for them. This is not a situation where, I think that would be the better take on what, I guess, if you were going to have a conversation with Rogan on this is that, okay, let's not pretend he's intelligent, because as a crack addict, he described crack in a way that makes it alluring. Let's talk about what people vote for and how they vote. Plenty of people are willfully ignorant. They will go out of their way to ignore the facts about a candidate or the issues or whatever. And they'll vote on something or against something. And Kamala, to a large extent, these were votes against Trump. It was TDS at work. And if you were going to go on merits, if you were going to go on the issues, well, the left loses all day. It's mind-boggling that on the issues, the GOP has been consistent, and as you pointed out, they're, as a party, pretty much aligned on the issues. But it's on the issues. If there is something that they differ on, it's the issues. There are a couple of issues here and there. But the left is insane. And the GOP struggles to get a majority in the House, struggles to get a majority in the Senate. And the left, they get tens of millions of votes for someone like Kamala, who never got one primary vote.
And they don't care. They don't care that the voter doesn't care whether the democratic process is followed in their own party.
Right.
They don't care. There's a little bit of, few people, but other than that, nobody looks at that and says, look, we need to start we keep calling ourselves the party of democracy, yet we don't follow it ourselves in our own party.
Right.
But that's because they realize the voting Democrat doesn't care.
Exactly.
The voting, not the party, the voter who votes Democrat right now, that was no big issue.
Right.
They're not complaining. They're not furious about it. You don't hear anything.
Right.
Say what you want, but Republicans disagree with something, boom, you hear it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You hear it on Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
They're furious.
Yep. And you can't say anything. I mean, Rahm Emanuel, he even admits what he says he's going to have witness protection. He's going to have to get in the witness protection program for talking about, for having a logical discussion on transgenders.
The continuing problem for the Democrats is, as a political, forget about where you stand on the issues, a political party has to reach out and become more broad-based. The Republican Party did that. That's why they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
The Democrats cannot do that when they keep promoting the victim-oppressor narrative.
Yeah.
When they practice identity politics, which is the racism of judging people by groups and not individuals, you pit one group against another. When you pit one group against another, when that's your goal, and when your goal is to have more victims and therefore more oppressors, you are constantly dividing the pie and getting more people angry at you.
Right.
You have to be able to unite on some kind of issues.
Mm-hmm.
Take the politics out of it and where you stand on the issues. You've got to unite on the issues, and the Democrats have failed to do that. You want an autopsy? DNC? There it is right there.
There it is right there. We've been saying that for how long?
Yep. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Ex-President Joe Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, talked to House investigators this week. What did he have to say? Whoa. This is all the autopen stuff. By the way, Hillary Clinton sounded the alarm. Jake Sullivan sounded the alarm, according to Klain. Months before, while they were saying, hey, this guy's fine, everybody around him was saying, no, he's not. This is going to get interesting.
Well, because they're sounding the alarm and did what about it? Is it a true alarm if only a couple of people know about it?
Well,
if it's something to that extent.
Well, it does hit the narrative, the conspiracy narrative, that his own people wanted him to do that debate early because they figured he would fail miserably, which is that why they fed him the Ambien before it, according to Hunter Biden? Because we asked that question the other day.
I asked the question that who gave him the Ambien?
Yeah, who gave the Ambien?
Hunter didn't say he accidentally took an Ambien.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Wow, so many people that we lost this week, but a lot of people celebrating the lives of the people, the very well-known celebrities that passed away this week, including, in one classroom, Ozzy Osbourne. Here we go. On the xylophone.
Now, is that the one that's been out there for years, or is that the same kids recreating?
I don't know.
Moment?
I don't know.
But,
I've not first time I've ever seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty
but
interesting.
But it is great. It's great.
Yeah, love it.
On the xylophone.
So many stories on the Ozzy thing, just kind of residual stories. throughout the news cycle, and which was interesting because, metal is a genre and you don't expect it to be, the impact to be that big.
Mainstream,
and, and it kind of tells you that his impact was, and it's probably because after all these years, of course, it was going to be. And he was mainstream beyond the genre and beyond the music with the TV show and everything else, just as a celebrity. Sharon's been out there. She was on, what was their version of The View? The Chat, the Talk?
Was it the Talk? It was the Talk.
The Talk.
I forgot about that. We
Yeah.
did talk about it when it was on, though.
Yeah. So the family's been out there for a while. Jack is doing his own thing now. He bought some land. One of the things he said, first thing he did when he got that land was set up his gun range. And I'm like, wow, Jack Osborne. All right.
Maybe hanging around with Nuge.
Well, I guess. And he talks, very different than what you saw on the Osborne's TV show. Of course, it's years later. He's an adult. He has kids. But he talks. He was on with Howie Mandel on Howie's podcast. Was it last year before? And Howie asked him, "Are you American?" I think he was asking, "Do you have your citizenship?" He goes, "Well, I'm probably more American." Or no. The question was, "Do you, because you live here, do you consider yourself to be an American?" He says, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm probably more American than a lot of people born here." And I thought, oh, let's hear more about that. What is it? Because I thought that sounds like could be, someone who is a patriot, right? Who's someone who is a conservative, a true patriot. I don't know that to be the case, but I thought, I'd like to ask Jack some more questions. But, you look at the Ozzy thing and the same thing with Hulk Hogan. They transcended their day job, basically, in their notoriety. Elton John saying, and I knew this about Ozzy, I think we all did after the TV show, Elton John saying, Ozzy was one of the funniest people ever. Naturally just funny. And, it's, again, it is that notoriety that comes with when you have a lot of friends that are also famous. It kind of builds that notoriety out. But Hulk Hogan was that way too. I mean, he transcended professional wrestling. I mean, that was his bread and butter, what he was known for. His persona and everything was built on that. And I think even without his reality TV show, it would be the case that he transcended that and was famous, as a personality beyond that.
With when people die, you hear the personal stories. And after Hulk Hogan's death, I saw Ric Flair talking about him.
Yeah.
And when you get behind the scenes, when I watched the documentary that was done on Roddy Piper. Now, I can't say I saw him wrestle much. What I know him from is the best B movie ever made in the history of B movies.
They Live.
And I know of him because a guy I used to work with said, this has got to be back in the late 80s. He said, you look like Roddy Piper. No, not Roddy Piper. Who was it? The other? I can't think of the other. It wasn't him. It was somebody else. Maybe it was Roddy Piper. I can't think. It was one of the wrestlers. Maybe it was a couple of them. He goes, you look like that guy. You look like that guy. And I think Roddy Piper was the one. I said, I don't think I look like him. But you never know. But then I saw They Live and I went, whoa. But when I watched his biography, it's a tough damn business. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a tough business. And, you see you don't see a lot of wrestlers living into their late 80s.
No.
Or into their 80s.
No.
A lot of damage is done to the body. The steroid use that has been talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the drug use,
Mm-hmm.
the alcohol. You know, Roddy Piper talked about, you know, all of them. I mean, he died at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
You think about it.
Right.
And you would look at him. I mean, you see him out there. I mean, in the movie They Live, he looks like he's really in shape and he's healthy in that, you know, when he's walking around. And then the best fight ever in the history of any fight in any movie. The longest fight ever.
The longest,
wait a minute. The longest best fight.
Yeah,
well, not the best fight, but the longest, the best longest fight.
Yeah, there you go.
It seems it goes on forever. It's like, come on, can we end the fight and go back and start shooting the aliens? But I always, one of the things I always tell my great nephew from that movie, and I told him the line where Roddy Piper walks into the bank and says, "I am here to chew bubble gum and kick A."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all out of bubble gum. And I told him in his basketball games, think about that before you walk on the court. And he said, why? I said, because, and he's seen the scene. I said, because you'll laugh. And it will relax you. And he says, I've done it. It actually does relax me.
Mm-hmm.
But wrestling is extremely tough. And when I saw, again, Ric Flair talk about the fact of when they had nothing and Hulk Hogan lent him money.
Yeah.
And he went to pay him back and he said, don't pay me back.
Yeah.
And he's in tears talking about it. I mean,
Right.
those kind of things. And there is a camaraderie, you know, inside that business. And I saw that when I watched the Roddy Piper documentary, the same thing. But you become a part of it. And even going home is, you know, when they talked about Roddy Piper would not go home the first day he was he'd stay in a hotel for a couple of days just to basically rest and relax and be in shape to be with the family.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about that, you're like, wow. And like I said, it's just you get to see the personal side from the people that they know, even though he was quite open. And again, he got into did you see somebody who used to work for Gawker? Remember he sued them for putting out the sex tapes, and he won.
Right.
Now he won like $100 million, and eventually I think they settled for $31 million, but they went under.
Right.
And it was somebody who worked at Gawker on X saying, I'm dancing on his grave today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, it was just brutal.
Yeah.
You know, but again, I mean, those things, you're going to people that, it was somebody who worked for Gawker apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And they went under because of that lawsuit.
Right.
And, you know, he didn't live, none of us do. It's like, well, he didn't live the perfect life. Who does?
Yeah.
You know, but he
Show me the perfect person, you know?
But he was huge. Absolutely huge.
It was, you know, those moments in life where, again, like with the WWF, which became WWE, beyond Ric Flair's heyday and that, I was kind of out because I became an adult. You know, I started working and you know, I had a job. Sorry, this is getting worse. No, I mean, I just kind of, I don't know if I grew out of it, moved on from it, whatever, but you would see occasionally, you see like they still do the TV thing, you know, and I see promos for it all the time. I don't watch. But that's the thing, is that who's making the noise, right? Who's out there? I'd say The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He transcended mainly because he changed careers.
Yeah.
You know, but Hulk Hogan did in many ways. It was always based on that. You know, I know Hulk did some acting jobs, but really it all came back to, his day job, but he was a personality outside of that was bigger than life. And at 6'7", 300 pounds, you're going to leave a wake, And I think that's, when you look at it all, that's kind of the impact, basically. If you're a diehard wrestling fan, or if you're a diehard Ozzy fan, or something like that happens. I mean, I remember the day Elvis died. I was a kid. And I really wasn't at that point old enough to be an Elvis fan and say I followed him for, years, because I was 11 years old when he died. But later in life, learning more about him, it was like, oh, and then becoming a musician, and it was like, oh, all right. And that kind of legacy lives on. I think that's going to be the case with Ozzy. It's the case with a lot of celebrities. Their image stays around for a reason because of that kind of, impact.
Yeah, I mean, for Elvis, for me, I mean, that was my uncle's music. Yeah. And he was in Vegas at that point. It was like, you're in Vegas and you're a teenager. You weren't cool back then.
Exactly.
It's just the reality. It was like, oh, he's a lounge act.
Yeah. Right.
And I didn't get to appreciate Elvis till I got older.
Right.
And actually listened to them and went, God, what a great voice.
Then you read about his life and everything.
You learn about his life, and then you get to see him. Like I say, one of the best rock things ever is it's the 3-piece cut down Elvis band.
Yeah.
On the back of that flatbed.
Yep.
You know the video I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I've only seen like a couple of minutes of it, but you hear that and you're right, that's Elvis.
My mom saw him in a tiny town in Texas. It wasn't on that flatbed. It was actually an indoor concert. But my mom was like 17, I think she said.
But that actually, when you're 19, 20, 21, when he hit, that's who he was. Yeah. I never viewed Elvis as the Hawaii special with the entire orchestra behind him.
Yeah, right.
In the flashy clothes. That wasn't beginning Elvis.
Right. I think that's why the 69 comeback special.
Oh, in the round?
Yeah.
When he was in leather?
Because
that was great. That was great.
Because he got back to the the music, essence of where it began.
Yeah.
And I think you're right on that. I think the larger American Trilogy and all these things, these bigger, productions, great productions, but where he caught fire was this, and getting back to those basics had a great appeal.
Yeah. That was, that's who he was. That's what broke him. And when he broke, and it was that 3-piece band, and that was the band that was on that flatbed truck.
Yeah.
And you see the raw energy of that. To me, it's, I know people may get angry at me for saying it, but it's a little punkish.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
It's rebellious.
It was
in every
rebellious.
way.
Yes, it was.
It's we're not going to abide by authority. It is.
Right.
It was loud. It was.
But it was rockabilly gospel based.
Oh yeah.
So much of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But then again, when you think about it, some of the punk, when I first, saw the Stray Cats or Brian Setzer, I realized, oh my gosh, they're not punk.
Right.
They're rockabilly.
Right.
And then he's gone rockabilly big band. He's gone rockabilly big band.
To me, the best Sabbath has ever sounded is when they did the final big tour, and this was years ago, but several years ago. But if you watch this video, lots of good quality video of them on stage as a band together, and it's like, man, they aged so well as a band, and it sounded so great.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a fan at all, that is worth looking at if you haven't seen it already.
But you know something? Some bands do that.
Yeah,
some
exactly.
bands actually get better
they get
they get
better.
But I think it's a rare thing.
It is rare.
I think it's rare.
It is rare.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. In order to manage speed, you need to understand the 4 factors involved in stopping a vehicle. Perception distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time you see a hazard until your brain recognizes it. The perception time for an alert driver is approximately 3/4 of a second. Reaction distance is the distance a vehicle travels from the time your brain tells your foot to move from the accelerator until your foot hits the brake pedal. The average driver has a reaction time of 3/4 of a second. Brake lag distance also needs to be taken into account. When operating a vehicle with air brakes, it takes about half a second for the mechanical operation to take place. Finally, braking distance is the distance it takes a vehicle to stop once the brakes are applied. Braking distance is affected by the weight, length, and speed of the vehicle, as well as road condition. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, one of the things I saw after the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner is the discussion that, and I saw a lot of discussion saying his career might have been bigger if it hadn't been for the conviction of Bill Cosby.
You know,
and I went, "Whoa, I never thought about
that."
That
Actually, I thought about that when the whole Cosby thing was going down, because there were other players on that show, and that show was huge.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I could see that.
What was that lineup? Was Cosby, Family Ties, Night Court?
Yep.
And there was one more.
It was the beginning. It was at the beginning of must-see TV for NBC.
Yeah.
You know?
I forgot
big lineup.
I forgot the other show. Cosby,
Yeah.
Night Court, Family Ties.
Yeah.
Wasn't Alf, was it?
I don't
can't
know, but it
remember.
was right around that era, though. Yeah. But, yeah, I could see other, because, again, I mean, others on that show that, would have gone on. The question is, would they have had stronger careers without the massive controversy surrounding Bill Cosby himself?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the things is, just talking about the deaths of major celebrities this week, and Malcolm Jamal Warner. And you and I talked about it, and I live in a lake, and every year there's drownings in my lake. And it just, I'm not just sad, I get angry with it, because I think most drownings are preventable. I think more people should learn to swim. You and I talked about, we went as far in swimming as you could get, because we both, passed the, we did lifeguard training and passed it. And you were actually a lifeguard. I was never a lifeguard, but I got the training. And I've also swam very long distances and have, done mile swims in very cold water in Canada in the summer. That's where I actually got my my mile swim award, was in a very cold lake in Canada during the summer. And so when you really learn how to swim, it's sort of like riding a bike, you don't forget. How long could you tread water for? An unlimited amount of time, probably, right? Yeah. Until you ran out of food.
Yeah.
Until you got hungry.
Right.
And you're, but it was such an important part of what my parents, especially my father, you had no choice. You learned to swim, and you learned to swim at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be around water your whole life. You learn to swim. And I was reading a article in the New York Post about the number of drownings there. And one of the organizations that's, I think it's called Rising Tides, I just can't remember the last name of it, project or whatever. And, you know, they talk about rip currents and everything else. Go 95%. They make the claim 95% of drownings are preventable.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't be happening. And I look in my lake, and there's no serious, you know, rip currents in my lake.
Right.
You know, it's not a huge ocean. It's not a huge, you know, kind of lake. But they even talk about rip currents. Rip currents don't pull you down under. That's the point I think you brought up earlier this week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way you can get out of it if you know what you're doing.
Right.
Those are some of the things you learn when you go all the way in swimming and get lifeguard training, as both you and I did at a very, very young age. And it always just bothers me. I hate waste of life and based on things that are preventable.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they are. And then the other story about the celebrity chef, Anne Burrell, who committed suicide. And, you know, I've known two people that I knew. One that was actually a friend of the show, actually was on the show once, remember, when she came on? Very, very young lady who, and she had called me about 10 days before she committed suicide, wanting to talk business with me, and then said, I can't, look, I just don't have my head together on what I want you to do. She wanted a reference from me or a letter of recommendation. She goes, let's wait till after the holidays. I think it was before Thanksgiving. And just don't bother me now. Get back to me later. No, and I thought it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
She committed suicide, 10 days later. And so when friends call me, I always call back.
Yeah.
But I don't blame myself at all for that. I had no idea.
Right.
And that's the thing with suicide that has gotten to me. The people that I know that have committed suicide that were close to me, there was no clue. None.
The family will tell you often that that's the case. They had absolutely no reason to believe that it would happen.
There are the cases of people that attempt suicide and are not successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go through whatever the professionals will say. Some say, well, they really didn't want to kill themselves. It was a, cry for attention, whatever. I don't know. I don't know how the brain works, in that manner. There are people that will publicly talk about their depression and how they, wanted to kill themselves or tried to kill themselves and got the help and everything that they needed. But there are some people that just succeed at it, and there's no indication at all, none, that nobody had any idea that they want to do it. That to me is heartbreaking, because inside of them, from what you hear from a lot of people that commit suicide, is they actually believe in their heart and soul the world, their family, their friends, everyone they know will be better off without them.
Yeah.
That's a huge leap from how most people think.
Yeah, that's quite often the case, if not most often the case, that they believe they're doing damage by
living.
By living.
Yeah.
And of course it's not the case, because every life has a value. And everyone has loved ones, regardless of the mistakes you've made, how many mistakes you've made, the nature of the mistakes you've made. Everyone has people around them that love them, and I think that's the most confounding part of it, is that if it indeed is the case that the family's not aware and doesn't see anything, and the person themselves, they're not reaching out, then the question is, then how do you know?
And
I think about the case where Bon Jovi was filming a video on a bridge recently. It was months ago. John Bon Jovi saw this girl who looked like she was about to jump off this bridge. And they stopped production, and he walked up to her and had a conversation with her. And, you know,
and then she didn't jump.
She did not jump.
Right.
And it's impossible to, again, get into anybody else's mind.
Yeah.
It is. And, again, that's part of the great concern. Maybe the most confounding part of it is because you can't tell. And if family members have no signal in that regard, then what do? And how do you prevent that? And it's, you know, I think the only thing you can do is keep telling people that you love them, the people around you, and quite frankly, for anybody who may think that there is no value in their life, you know, people like us would beg you to please reconsider, reach out, because you're likely not the only person going through, something, but you're not the only person going through that type of situation where you're in true despair. And so you'll learn that when you're talking to others, and that's where it begins.
And great advice. I guess my frustration is in the situation that that I dealt with. Is there some people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whether people tell them they are loved or whatever, there's something inside of them that makes them believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could solve that problem.
Well,
because to me, that's the part, is that in some cases, there's nothing that anybody can do about it. And that's what makes me, that frustrates me, because you just wish it could, because I hate waste of life. I just hate it. It just, when I saw that they had ruled the death of the celebrity chef, and is it Burrell, whatever, as a suicide, and she was so, just
great personality,
a ball of excitement in life.
Yeah.
That you just look at, because that's the thing with the suicide. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor.
Right.
Doesn't seem like any social economic class has anything to do with it.
Right.
Because some of the most successful people, something came up on YouTube. Maybe I need to get off of YouTube. This came up on YouTube just in random shuffle a couple of weeks ago. Hollywood celebrities that have committed suicide. Hundreds upon, and they went all the way back to like it was movie stars, so they went back to 1920. They went back to some of the early, film stars all the way through. And I'm like, my God, I mean, hundreds upon hundreds. And you're talking about some of the richest people, well-off people, celebrities, anything there for them to enjoy life didn't matter.
Right. Naomi Judd.
Yeah. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And that was right there in the house.
Yeah, when you become aware of that kind of despair, it's, to your point, it's the question, what do you do about it? Can anything be done about it? Because I can't imagine, again, being in a family in a situation like that, in the wake of it, just going through your mind, I'm sure many would think I should have done more.
Yeah. And it's someplace I don't want to, that you don't want to approach, which is maybe it doesn't matter. When you talk mental illness and you look, for example, both of us, dealing with and have dealt with dementia in our families, there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
The mind's going to go where the mind's going to go, and the damage to the mind, whatever it is going to be there, and you can't stop it. And those are the things you have to say, God, handle this for me, because I don't even know what to think at times about it. But I know that when I've seen suicides now and then compare it to the experience I've had with, dementia with my parents, you look at it and you're just like, wow. But it does make you, it doesn't make me think. For me, I've just never had those kind of thoughts. That's not in my mind. I love every bit of life, whether I was doing this or not. I know some people that have been, I don't know them personally, but I know who they are, who were let go from a long career in radio, and it was the only thing they had, and they ended up committing suicide. And one guy from Canada who I used to listen to all the time, man, a couple weeks off, they said he was fine, but that job, they said, was everything to him, and boom, he committed suicide. And so, what can trigger it? What exactly, is it? Will they be able to ever solve that part of the brain that makes you depressed in that kind of way? Or is that damage like dementia? And I don't know. I'm asking questions. I'm not making any type of definitive statement because I don't know. It's just part of my frustration that I think probably anyone has who knows anybody who has committed suicide. And you didn't see it coming at all. You would think the last person ever, and there were zero signs.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's, so the one person we knew was in radio, but I'm talking about another person. Who, the person we know was successfully employed still.
Right.
In this business and committed suicide. And it was like, so. Yeah, I'm at a loss for words now because I'm like, on this topic, there is no conclusion or definitive analysis, is there?
No, because every brain is going to be unique. So the thought process or what's going on inside that brain with that individual is going to be unique to their experience.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to know what they're thinking, what they're planning, and hopefully one day they will figure that out.
I hope they do. 866-98-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Also, our show ends in an hour. And when our show ends, it's
all over.
It's all over.
That's right.
And then it becomes our podcast because we record the whole thing. And also, if you cannot listen to one of our great radio stations, which is the preferred way during the show, we do stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app. Coming up following the top of the hour, Hillary Clinton back in the news. That's because Joe Biden's former chief of staff, Ron Klain, told House investigators that Hillary approached him with concerns about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. And so did Jake Sullivan way before the debate. So we'll get to that. Plus, Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice has a, quote, very productive day in a meeting with the Deputy Attorney General. We'll get to that coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.